You are listening to The Soul's Quiet Call, written by Akumah and voiceover by Sara. Akumah Audiobooks. Chapter 30, The Strength in Letting Go. The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky, casting its amber light over the quiet park where Meera and Aarav sat together, their fingers entwined. There was a softness in the air, the kind that comes only when the weight of the world has been temporarily lifted. But the weight had not disappeared entirely. It lingered, not in the space between them, but within them, subtle yet persistent, reminding them of the journey they had both been on. Meera's gaze was fixed on the lake in front of them, the water shimmering under the golden light. It was beautiful, serene, but there was something else beneath it. A depth. A quiet force that pulled her, just as the emotions she had kept hidden for so long were pulling at her heart. "Aarav," she began, her voice soft but steady, "do you ever wonder if we're holding on to things that don't belong to us anymore?" Aarav turned his head toward her, his expression pensive. "I think we all do. At some point or another, we hold on to things because we don't know how to let them go. Or maybe, we're afraid to." "Afraid?" Meera repeated, her voice almost a whisper. "But why? Why are we so afraid of letting go of something that only causes us pain?" Aarav was quiet for a long moment, his fingers tightening around hers. "I think it's because we believe that if we let go, we lose a part of ourselves. We think that our pain is who we are, that it defines us." Meera nodded slowly, understanding. She had spent so many years believing that the expectations others had of her were the only things that kept her anchored. That her gift, her ability to see into others' hearts, was her purpose in life. But lately, she had come to realize that she was not her gift. She was more than that. She was Meera, someone who could love, who could feel deeply, but who also deserved to be loved for who she truly was, not just for what she could offer. And now, as she looked at Aarav, she knew that they both had something in common. They had been holding on to the weight of their pasts for far too long. But it was time. Time to release those burdens. Time to forgive. She took a deep breath. "Aarav, I've been thinking a lot about my gift. About how it's always been the lens through which I've seen the world. I've let it control me, let it decide who I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to feel. But the truth is, I'm not just my gift. I'm more than that." Aarav's gaze softened, his eyes meeting hers with a quiet intensity. "You are so much more, Meera," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've always seen you as more than what your gift tells you you are. But I know it's not easy to accept that, especially when it feels like it's the only thing that defines you." She nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "It's been hard, Aarav. I've spent so much of my life trying to be what others wanted me to be, trying to be the perfect daughter, the perfect friend. And I've let that fear of not being enough, of not being loved for who I truly am, hold me back." Aarav squeezed her hand gently, his thumb brushing against her skin in a comforting gesture. "I think I know that fear," he said quietly. "I've lived with it for a long time. The fear that no one could ever love me for who I really am, not after everything I've done, not after how I've hurt people." Meera's eyes softened, and she leaned her head against his shoulder, the weight of his words settling between them. They both had scars, emotional ones, that had shaped the way they viewed themselves, the way they viewed love. But as much as they had tried to bury those scars, they had also been keeping them alive by holding on to the guilt, the shame, and the regret that came with them. She lifted her head, meeting his gaze with newfound clarity. "Aarav, we can't keep holding on to our past mistakes. Not if we want to move forward. We can't keep letting guilt define us." Aarav's jaw tightened, his eyes clouded with the remnants of his own battles. "I know. I've been trying to forgive myself for so long. For leaving my family, for the way I treated the woman I loved before you. I've carried that weight like it was mine to bear. But every time I try to let it go, it feels like I'm betraying something. Letting go isn't about betrayal, Meera said softly, her voice steady. It's about freedom. It's about forgiving yourself enough to move forward, to be who you truly are now, not who you were. You don't have to keep punishing yourself, Aarav. You're not that person anymore. His eyes searched hers, as if looking for something, some assurance, some sign that what she said was true. But how do I do that? He asked, the vulnerability in his voice raw and unguarded. You start by accepting that you're not perfect, Meera replied. And that you don't have to be. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to be human. But what matters now is what you do with that. What matters now is how you choose to love, and who you choose to be. Aarav was quiet for a long moment. And then, he nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing as he let her words sink in. I've spent so much time running from love, running from my past, that I forgot to forgive myself for everything I thought I couldn't undo. Meera smiled softly, her heart swelling with affection for him. You don't have to undo anything, Aarav. You just have to let it go. We both do. He turned to her, his face now open, free from the weight he had carried for so long. You're right. I need to let go of my past. Not just for me, but for us. So, I can be the man you deserve. And I need to let go of my fear, Meera added. Fear that I'll never be loved for who I am, for what I feel. Fear that I'll always be defined by my gift, and not by my heart. Their hands found each other again, this time with a new sense of understanding between them. No more pretending. No more holding on to the things that didn't serve them anymore. They were both learning the power of letting go, the strength it took to forgive themselves, and the courage it took to step into a future without the chains of the past. Meera leaned her head on his shoulder again, a soft smile tugging at her lips. I'm ready, she said quietly. Ready to let go. Ready to forgive myself. And ready to love you, without the fear. Aarav kissed the top of her head, his voice low but filled with certainty. And I'm ready to love you the same way. With everything I have, without fear, without doubt. Just love. They sat there together, as the last of the sun's light disappeared below the horizon, the quiet peace of the moment enveloping them. It was not the end of their journey, but it was the beginning of something new. Something real. And as the world around them settled into night, Meera and Aarav realized that the true strength didn't lie in holding on to the past. It lay in letting go of the pain, the regret, and the fear, and stepping forward, hand in hand, into the unknown. Together. Akumah Audiobooks. Refer to the channel playlist for a better experience and close your eyes to let your imagination run wild. Subscribe.